We're about to find out what a linking verb is, how to recognize one, and how to use a linking verb in a sentence. My name's Nathan, teacher, and before we begin, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell notification button for more grammar videos as and when I release them. Let's begin by revising the first lesson. In the first lesson, we asked the question, what is a sentence? Can you remember what a sentence is? A sentence is a complete thought. Now we know what a complete thought is instinctually. We just feel it. But how formally do we know it? What are the two essential parts of any sentence? The two essential parts are? The two essential parts of any sentence are the subject and the predicate. Now this is important to repeat. Repeat until it goes in. Excellent. We're going to look at definitions. How do we know a subject is a subject? How do we know a subject is a subject? We know a subject is a subject because it answers the question who or what followed by the verb. We know a subject is a subject because it answers the question who or what followed by the verb. Let's take an example. The example is, I like watches. Great. To identify the subject, we ask the question, who or what plus verb. What's the verb? Well, we can identify that straight off. Like. Who or what like? The answer is, I like. The subject, therefore, is I. Two parts of a sentence, the subject and the predicate. Both are necessary. Question, if we don't have either subject or predicate, the sentence that is not a sentence is called a sentence fragment. Okay, now, question is, how do we identify the predicate? We can identify the predicate by asking subject, I, what? I what? I, in the sentence, like watches. The predicate is like watches. Great. Subject, I, predicate like watches. Great. Now, again, the predicate must include one thing. It must include a verb. Every predicate has a verb in it. Okay, we're going to switch it up and we're going to look at one of the two possible types of sentences or types of verbs in a sentence. According to me, I find this useful. There are two types of sentences. The first type is what's called an equals verb sentence or a linking verb sentence. For me, an equals verb is a verb that can be replaced with an equal sign without changing the meaning of the sentence essentially. Let's take an example. Here's an example of a linking verb or equals verb sentence. Butter is my favorite food. Now, the most common verb in linking verb or equals verb sentences is some form of the verb to be. Was, were, is, am, are, will be, etc. Butter is my favorite food. Now, let's try the equals verb test. Let's replace the verb with the equal sign. Butter equals my favorite food. Have we changed the meaning of the sentence? The answer is, what do you think? I think no. So, butter is my favorite food. That is an example of an equals verb sentence or a linking verb sentence. And the most popular verb, and it's always a linking verb, is the verb is or the verb to be in the past, present, whatever tense you choose. Great. Butter is my favorite food. Now, we're not going to start sentence diagramming in this lesson. We will start sentence diagramming soon, but it's important to practice splitting the sentence into its essential parts. What are the two parts of a sentence? The subject and the predicate. Let's take this sentence and do that. Subject. Subject. How do we identify the subject? We ask the question who or what followed by the verb. Who or what is? What's the answer? What do you think? Butter. Butter. So the subject is butter. Subject is butter. Great. How do we identify the predicate? Can you remember without scrolling back or looking at your notes? How do you identify the predicate? We ask subject what in the form of a question. We ask subject what. So what's the subject? Butter. We ask butter what? Butter what? Butter is my favorite food. What's our predicate then? Predicate is my favorite food. Great. Subject, butter. Butter what? Subject is butter. The predicate is my favorite food. The predicate, if you remember, must always contain one essential thing. The predicate must always contain a verb. The verb is. Great. Let's have a look at another equals verb sentence. Equals verb sentence. Great. Here we go. My brother is smart. It's another equals verb sentence. How do we know? Well, it's from the verb to be, but let's apply the equals verb or linking verb test. Let's try to replace that verb with an equal sign and see if it essentially changes the meaning. Let's try that. My brother equals smart. Have I changed the meaning? I think not. My brother equals smart. Great. It's an equals verb sentence. Now, let's go on and find the subject. How do we find the subject? We find the subject by asking who or what plus the verb. Who or what is? The answer is my brother. So, subject equals brother. How do we find the predicate? We ask subject what? Subject what? Subject my brother what? My brother is smart. The predicate is smart. The predicate must always contain one thing. What one thing must the predicate always contain? A verb. The verb is awesome. Great. Let's try one more of these sentences for a little bit of practice. Great. Now, by the way, if you're from the North American continent, then you might be distressed at how I spell favourites. It's just the British way. Don't panic. It's okay. Don't write to me and tell me that I've spelled it wrong. It's okay. Don't panic. So the sentence is, butter is my favourite food. Let's split it in two. Subject. Subject answers the question, who or what, followed by the verb. Who or what is? The answer is butter is. Let's write that out. Subject is butter. How do we find the predicates? We ask subject what? Butter what? Butter is my favorite food. Predicate is my favorite food. Excellent. Now, once again, how do we tell if it's an equals verb, as I call it, or a linking verb, as the rest of the world calls it? We try the test of replacing the verb with an equal sign and seeing if it has changed the meaning. Butter equals my favorite food. Have we changed the essential meaning? I would say no. Great. So it's an equals verb. Excellent. Let's revise. What is my definition of a sentence? A sentence is a complete thought. We instinctively know if a sentence is not a sentence. What do we call a sentence that isn't a sentence? We call it it's called a sentence fragment. Now, what are the two things that we grammatically need in order for a sentence to be a sentence? The answer is a subject and a predicate. Great. How do we tell if a subject is a subject? This is really important. This is the backbone of your sentence diagram. This is the backbone of your grammar. The subject answers the question who or what, followed by the verb. Who or what plus verb is the subject. How do we find the predicate? The predicate answers the question What question does the predicate answer? The predicate answers the question, subject what. Last thing, two types of sentence. The first type is what I call, or two types of sentences. The first is, according to me, an equals verb. According to everybody else in the world, it's a linking verb. Now, how do we tell that an equals verb is an equals verb? We replace the verb with an equal sign and see if it fundamentally changed the meaning. Great. In the next lesson, we're going to look at the second type of verb, and we're going to find out what that second type of verb is really soon. See you on the other side. Thanks for watching. This video is part of a course that normally costs $29.99 at udemy.com. But click the link below and you get the course for only $9.99, a 66% saving. The course has all the exercises you need to master basic sentence diagramming and sentence grammar. So, click now for lifetime access with a 30-day money-back guarantee.